goodness, you guys are some impatient folks. What's up, guys? Oh, I did start it a couple minutes early, but how's everybody going? How's everybody doing? Oh man, TDK man 28. Hurry up, man. Wow. Man, what is up? What is up? It's been a long week. I'm going to share that story with you here in just a little bit. Oh man, actually it's been a long 3 weeks, but definitely crazy. Definitely really crazy. Yeah, I missed out on Toad Fest. That's kind of what I was doing this weekend. I was down in off the coast of Georgia. Pretty fun little trip I had. So when am I coming to Savannah? Matter of fact, Preston, that's where I was this weekend or this week, for sure. Let me let a few more people jump on here. Um, Thanks, Jay Wells. Appreciate it. Uh, Very cool, very cool. Okay, let me tell you about with my week. It's pretty cool. First of all, I want to apologize for not doing this last week and only putting one video out this week. I do have videos to launch. Problem is I haven't been home to get them loaded up on YouTube. So been kind of crazy. I volunteered to go on a kayak trip with a bunch of young men and some adult leaders. We took 22 people, 23 people off the coast of Georgia to an island called Little Tybee Island during a tropical storm. The tropical storm was a long ways off, but we still got a lot of wind from it. So we were paddling in 20 to 25-mile-an-hour winds, which was kind of crazy. But we had fun. It was a 3-day trip. I had cell phone service, but that was about it. So being able to launch videos as my editors threw them at me was impossible. So start to see those. You'll start to see one on Sunday. I've got to film a couple of instructionals on Tuesday so you guys don't get left out. A lot of these that I've got ready are all collaborations with other YouTubers, and I'm going to try to get some instructionals mixed in. Um, so yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's kind of what I wanted to tell you guys. But the videos are coming. I've got one with Tackle Junkie 81 and Phantom Fishing ready to load. That one will probably go on Sunday, and sometime next week you'll see another one with another YouTuber that is a pretty cool girl. She goes crazy when she catches fish, so that's gonna be pretty neat. So see, Bass Thumbs Fishing says he just bought a SS 127. That's pretty cool, man. So anyway, other cool things. Be sure to check out my website, flukemastr.com, for some new shirts. We got some really slick camo shirts that are just out, and we have logos that are camo. We have red, white, and blue ones for 4th of July. Pretty cool. What else is going on for 4th of July? Bonafide wants to wrap my SS 127 for 4th of July, so I can't wait to show you guys that. I guess this video is somewhat sponsored by. Let me get it. Lucky Tackle Box. They're my newest sponsor. Many of you guys who may not know that I left Mystery Tackle Box. Just wasn't working out with them. The let's just say the traffic didn't go both ways, and so it was time to switch. And I switched to Lucky because they want to do instructional videos. They want me to do my thing for them, which is really really cool. They are all into teaching people how to fish, and right up my alley. So it's funny how that has changed. It was really, how Mystery Tackle Box has evolved into one thing, and Lucky Tackle Box started out as a complete copycat with Mystery Tackle Box, and they've evolved into something else that fits my needs and fits what I like. I'm able to work with some really cool YouTubers like Tyler's Real Fishing, Alex Rudd, Yak Pack, and oh gosh, I know I'm going to forget you guys. But anyway, being able to work with all of those guys. Chad Hoover's also on Lucky Tackle Box team, and do some collaborative videos and really really help each other grow is really cool. It's nice to be part of a team where they all work together and not against each other. So that's Lucky Tackle Box. I'm excited about it. So one issue with our store is our 13 fishing rods are not shipping out like we thought they would, mainly because there are none in the U.S. of certain models and certain types of rods. So those who are waiting on rods, please be patient. My website guy is working really hard to find them and get them as soon as they come in on that slow boat from wherever, China or wherever they're made. So anyway, that's growing pains, I guess. But nobody has some of those rods, which is crazy. So, but the reels are shipping out quickly. The hats, I had to put my foot down on my hat person. For some reason, they are having issues, so I'm looking for another. Matter of fact, I just started an email with another company to do hats that'll do a little bit faster. And that's it. That's kind of what's going on with me. The kids are out of school now, so you're going to start seeing them in a lot of videos. We're going to film on Tuesday. We're going bluegill fishing in our kayaks. They should be on the bed out here at Rocky Mountain PFA, and I'm going to take all my kids, throw them in little plastic boats. So we're going to go lay the smackdown on some bluegill, or like I like to say, we're going to do some perch jerking. So, all right, let's start a little Q&A. That was my 6-minute intro. I'd like to welcome everybody here. If you're here for the first time, be sure you hit the subscribe button. These happen every Friday night, and I launch as many videos as I can on during the week. Right now, it's every Sunday, Wednesday, and I'm about to do a whole bunch that fill in just as fast as I possibly can. My wife is no longer working at the school because school's out, and so she's able to pick up some of the slack on some of the things that that take up a lot of my time and take up the time I have to go fishing and video and things like that. But let's see. I'm gonna go backwards a little bit. Is Nick on here? What's going on, Nick, the informative fisherman, or I like to call him Nicky? As a beginner, I'm. Let's see. I can't. Getting a tackle. Not about getting a tackle subscription to try new things. You should say I should go to do LTB. I'd say try LTB. They give you a mixture of stuff from different companies. It's not 50% from Ketchco and the other 50% from other companies or whatever. It's a mixture of different companies, so it gives you a chance to try out different lures from different companies. Will the fishing shirt of the month be available soon? I need sun protection. That's another thing I am working on. Anyway, somebody's texting me. But I have a couple of things I'm working on with that. I just finally got in touch with the company that runs my Fishing Shirt of the Month club. My previous point of contact, pretty much, well, to me, he just kind of checked out. So I worked it took me about 4 months to get a hold of somebody over there, and we're in the process of trying to work some things out and see if it'll happen. So those of you who are subscribed to Fishing Shirt of the Month Club, continue to subscribe. The shirt that's coming out this month is pretty cool, but I'm gonna be a little bit more hands-on with that and see whether it can work out or not. If not, who knows? I may start my own website. So. Let's see. Hey man, what should I fish with tomorrow at Rocky Mountain? I'm going. I don't know, man. I haven't been there in a few weeks. I'm going to go out there and do some bluegill fishing because a bluegill should be on bed, and with the old side imaging on my kayak, it's pretty much cheating, and they should be pretty easy to find. What is a good mid-level graph for a tournament? Mid-level, it all depends. What I always tell people every single time is buy one that at least has down imaging, side imaging, and GPS with a mapping system, and then buy the biggest screen that you possibly can afford. Side imaging is great, but you have to have a really big screen to see all the detail that you need to. I have side imaging on my HDS 7, and that's almost too small. I have to basically use the whole screen and not use the GPS, which is something I almost always use. So that's my suggestion when you talk about buying a sonar. It all depends on what you can afford and whether it has the right options. Do you have a bluegill video? I am very new to fishing artificial, so I am just now learning everything. I have one bluegill fishing video from a kayak where I talk about drop shotting for bluegill, which is how I fish for them when they're on beds. Especially deep beds, like I like to fish, and I find them with that side imaging, and they're out 6, 7, 8, 9 feet deep out in the middle of the lake or way off the shore. And I usually have them all to myself. But yeah, there'll be another bluegill video, mainly just a fun video with my kids. It'll be our first fishing trip after school's out, so I'm kind of excited about that. Do you have a video for someone who has never used a crankbait? Yes, I do. I have one about square bills, and one about deep diving crankbaits. But don't worry about it. Just watch it. It's a pretty cool video. I catch a really nice fish. But definitely watch the one about square bill crankbaits. Are you ever gonna get hooked up with tactical bassing? Yes, I am. I'm going to call him this week. He's supposed to be making an East Coast swing here shortly, but I'm definitely going to make a West Coast swing this fall, and going to spend some time with him, and maybe only with him. Man, I'm looking forward to it. What do you think of the Eagle Talon? Don't know. I haven't used it. Let's see, big boom bass, and I feel like side imaging is almost a waste for paddlecraft since we move so slow. No, actually, it's not. The ideal speed for side imaging, if you slow down your ping speed just a little bit, your ideal speed's about 2.5 to 3 miles an hour, which is about what you paddle. But if you know what you're looking at, even in slow speeds, you'll be able to pick things up. The only time it's hard to pick things up is one, when you're going too fast, which is 5, 6, 7 miles an hour, which you can't do in a kayak, or you're stopped. And so it's just a matter of knowing what you're seeing. I love my side imaging on my kayak. The Walking Geek, Gene has a video for just about everything. Kind of. A lot of those I want to redo, and mainly because I know more information about them now than I did back then, and just it's just so much to do and not a lot of time to do them. But I'm going to start knocking them out as fast as I can, or just continue doing it. When am I coming to Northern Cali? Probably in the fall. Jason Smits, about 5,000 casts with a spinnerbait in my 44 years. Never even had a bite. I'm not holding my tongue right now, or something. I felt that way. Well, my first bass, the bass that got me hooked on bass fishing was a 5-pounder. I caught. I was after I got married, as a matter of fact. I was 27, 28 years old. And I caught it on a spinnerbait. No, I wasn't. I was a teenager, because it was right after they built Charlie Elliott down the street from where I grew up. And it hooked me for sure. It was a spinnerbait. And then I got away from bass fishing just a little bit during the Army, while I was in the Army, and I got back to it after I got married. And I couldn't buy a bite on a spinnerbait. And I hated spinnerbaits. And I fished them a lot. Basically, what you got to do is the same thing you do with jigs. Just take them fishing continually over and over again until you figure them out. Go watch that beginner or that basic spinnerbait video that I made several years ago. It's got a lot of really good techniques that you can use to catch them on a spinnerbait. Let's see, what's your thoughts on Garmin? I got rid of my Garmin's on my bass boat just recently and went back to Lowrance. I had to eat crow about that because I fussed about Lowrance when I got rid of them. Got rid of the Garmin's mainly because of usability on the mapping, and I'm huge on mapping. I have to be able to do things very quickly and efficiently and mark things and go to things and everything else because I'm an offshore angler. And so I had to get rid of the Garmin's because I was ready to pull my hair out every time I used them and tried to fish offshore with them. So tone lock, cool. Gene, how is the Prototype X spinning reel and when will it be available? I think it's available right now. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that one. It is super, super light. It's the first reel I've ever used that was over $100, and it's a $200 spinning reel. Not reel, first spinning reel over $100. It's a $200 spinning reel. It's super light. It's smooth. I mean, it's just smooth. And reeling it's smooth. Everything is smooth. I talked to Matt, the real guy, sometime last week when I was at Bass Pro Shops in Springfield, Missouri, and my only suggestion was that he changed the handle on it. The handle was a little slick when it got wet, and he said that any one of the 13 fishing handles will fit, and so which is pretty cool. So anyway, I'm not sure when it'll be available, but if it is or isn't, so. Realistic Fishing, thanks for the $5, man. I really appreciate it. He says, I'm closing in on 20,000 subs. That's awesome. I owe a piece of my success to your 100,000 video about how to make a YouTube channel. Thanks, Flukemastr. Dude, that was a. I'm glad I did that video. I really am. That was a fun video to do. It was very basic. How to grow a YouTube channel, how to be you, and all that other stuff. That was a fun video. Thanks, man. I appreciate the $5. Um, what's my favorite soft plastic overall? I don't have one. If I had to pick one to save my life or to survive with, it'd be a trick worm. But it just all depends on what the fish are doing. So, FG knot versus micro guides break every time compared to spinning rods. What am I doing wrong? FG knot versus micro guides. Huh. The only thing I can say, because I don't have that problem, but when I used to have a problem with any of my knots breaking or getting messed up, is make sure that you make your leader just long enough to where your knot before the cast is between the biggest guide and the next one up. You don't want it on the real side of that biggest guide, because it's that knot hitting that biggest guide on the cast is what damages it the most. So I really haven't had that problem with the FG knot, but that would be my suggestion. What's my favorite frog color? My favorite frog color is any frog with a yellow belly. Spinning reel good for crankbaits, or is a bait caster better? You can use either one. The only thing I say about a bait caster, the advantage to using a bait caster is you get more casts, and more casts equals more fish, and you're more accurate. Once you learn how to use a bait caster good, you're a lot more accurate with a bait caster than you are with a spinning reel. And so those are the two advantages. More cast and more accurate equals more fish. Spinning reels are really good when you're fishing with light line, because the rod is ideal for light tackle, and it is just easier to fight a fish on light tackle with a spinning rod. So how many times do you typically work a wacky rig before you reel it in and recast it? Twice. And it depends on what the bass are doing. If I'm not getting bit, I'll work it 3 or 4 times. It usually means that the bass are further away from the cover than I thought they were. But I will let it sink to the bottom, let it sit there for a second, shake it, hop it once, let it sink again, and then reel it in is usually all I do. So let's see. What is the best setup for shaky head? Anything under a quarter of ounce, like 5/8 or less. No, not 5/8. Anyway, anything less than a quarter of an ounce, I use a medium light action spinning rod. Never go over 8-pound test. And then if it's a quarter ounce or heavier, I'll go to a medium action spinning rod or a medium action bait caster and use 10, 12-pound test line, because I'm going to be setting the hook a little bit harder. I have an old Mariner that has a trim seal leak. My mechanic told me it's not fixable, but I find that hard to believe. Thoughts? Ooh. Man, I don't know. I don't know enough about it. I tried to think of whether I've had any of those issues like that. Best thing I can say is don't be afraid to replace your trim. But uh, but yeah, I'd get a second opinion for sure. Best rod for throwing light Texas rig, medium fast action rod. I'm guessing you mean quarter ounce. Jigging joint structure heads in rocky, shallow rivers. Any tips on keeping the paint from chipping off? It all depends on the company that you're buying your jig heads from. There are a few out there. Greenfish Tackle has their paint is very, very difficult to chip off. I don't know if they've got a swinging jig head. They might. And then there's the one owned by Cliff Pace, and I can't remember what the name of the company is, but if they have one, all their jig paint, it's hard to chip off. So that's what I would do, is I'd find a company that makes them that has good paint on there. So Ernest Cole, Flukemastr, godfather of all YouTube fishing channels. Not exactly. Best inshore kayak. Inshore kayak is, I love the Bonafide. I was inshore with it this week. And it is a wind sensitive boat. But what I tell everybody is, if you're having trouble with the wind in any kayak, not just the bona fide, learn how to paddle correctly. There are several different paddle strokes, and I use a long sweep and a draw stroke when I'm fighting wind from the back. So that's a lot of it's the problem is a lot of people just don't know the different paddle strokes to be able to correct yourself. So um, do you change the size or strength of rods on kayak for certain baits? No, I don't. I just remember in my head that I sometimes need to set the hook harder, and sometimes I need to make sure I lean into them for a little bit longer. It just all depends. It's from experience, and it's something I'd really have to take notes about how I fish because a lot of it's just in the back of my head, kind of a sixth sense type deal. I'd have to take notes to be able to make a video eventually about it. So, um, who is your favorite pro FLW or elite? Gerald Swindle. Love him, love him, love him. Got to hang out with him this last week in Branson, Missouri, at Big Cedar Lodge, and it was a lot of fun. Him and his wife Lulu were there, so that was a pretty cool little deal. I went down there for the Toyota Bass Pro Shops Riders Conference. It was pretty cool to be invited to that, and I blew up my Instagram like crazy about the whole thing. So it was pretty cool, and pretty cool to be able to start some relationships with Bass Pro Shops and Toyota. So, what's your technical know-how on moon phase? I'm gonna tell you the truth about it. When you're talking about lunar tables and feeding times and stuff like that, I did not believe that worth a nothing up until Chad Hoover proved to me that it really is. You will catch fish all day long if it's a good bite, but during that period of time, during that peak and that minor time during the day, you're going to catch more fish. You're going to get more bites than you will any other time of the day. So, yeah, I do believe in it. So, what's the best spinnerbait blade combo? My favorite one is a will a chrome willow leaf number four to a small Colorado blade, gold Colorado blade is what I typically will use the most. I'm not that picky most of the time, but those are the ones when I have them custom made. Those are the ones I have made. So let's see. Thoughts on Jerky J swim baits? I don't know, dude. I don't use them. Are you going to the KBF Lake Erie tournament? Nope, I am not. I need to spend some time with my family. So that's my son right there, Jordan Jensen, and we are going to go do a lot of fishing this summer. So, Jordan, what's the best rod to use for jigs? Whichever one you steal from your daddy. Other than looking for structure, what water visibility and water? Okay, other than looking for structure and water visibility, what do you start with on new waters? Um, the next thing I'll look for is bait fish. Trying to figure out. I want to know what kind of bait fish are that are in the lake, and if there's no information on it, I'm trying to find some type of a clue about it. So, um, when are you going to come and fish in South Carolina? Don't have any plans right now. I'm over there a lot with Bonafide being right there in Greenville, but it's usually 1 day trips, and I haul tail back home. So, fast versus slow retrieve bait caster. Uh, I usually don't like to go less than a six 3 to 1 or 6 6 to 1. Anyway, it's a 6 speed reel. 5 3 to 1, 5 4 to 1. I used to say that they're great for deep cranking, and really, they are. They're great for deep cranking until you get bit, and it takes you 100 years to get the fish to the boat. So I try to go with a 6 speed or a 7 speed reel. Seven is the best one for all around different things. But when I'm bottom fishing and jig fishing and something where I want to get the bait back to me fast to make another cast as I'm pitching to heavy cover, it's an 8 1 to 1 gear ratio. So that's my take on it. When are you going to start? When are we going to start seeing some LTB sessions? I'm going to talk to them about that this next week. Figure out what they want from me. I know they want me to do a series of beginner fishing videos, which is something I've been working on with my channel, so it shouldn't be too hard to do those. They just want them have them done just a little bit different. And then I don't know. I don't know if I want to do kind of a slam series. I think I want to pick one. Tell me what you think. should I just pick one or two baits a month out of the box and do very, very in-depth videos about those two types of baits? That's kind of what I'm thinking. You know, instead of one video where I talk about each bait and I try to get through them as fast as I possibly can, I think I just want to pick two baits and just do very detailed, in-depth videos about how to fish them and everything else. So tell me what you think in the comments. What is the best swim bait trailer to use for swim jigs? I like the Ragetail Menace is what I like, because you can turn it this way if you want it to flap like this. You can turn it like this if you want it to look like a bluegill swimming. So that's kind of what, or a bait fish swimming or whatever, depending on the color. What do I find bass on a Wisconsin lake this time of the year? Grass is where they will be. The bass are in the grass. The handle on my baitcaster has some play forward and backwards. Any clue what it is? If it's an old loose cranking reel, that's normal. If it's not, you've got a anti-reverse bearing that's probably going bad, and you probably have to have it replaced. When are you coming to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina? No plans to right now. Can you provide some frog fishing tips, specifically using them over top of pads? Um, the the best tip I can give when you're fishing pads with a frog is pause a lot. Fish very, very slow. Let that frog sit for 3, 4, 5 seconds and shake it, and then walk it through the pads and work it very slowly through those pads. Is the best thing I can tell you. That's the difference between pads and fishing anything else. Is Cast King reliable? I don't know. I don't know enough about him. I just know the my history with him is not very good. Would be great to get everyone to the Saluda River Rally in Greenville tomorrow. It's a good cause. Very cool. Which reminds me, I am going to be in Nashville, Tennessee, at Third and oh gosh, what's the name of the place? It's a bar slash place where they go play country music and stuff like that. But there's an event I'm going to be part of, and I'm pulling it up real quick, so please be patient with me. It's called Storytelling Night, presented by Filson Outdoor Clothing, and it's by the where's it going to be at? Third and Lindsay is the name of the bar, and it's 818 Third Avenue South, Nashville, Tennessee. And basically, it's going to be a really cool, just kind of a sit down, kick back, relax, tell stories, shoot the bull, and just have a good old time with a whole bunch of people. Tickets are $25, but on my Instagram right now, I'm having a contest where you can win 2 free tickets and show up tomorrow night and get those. So anyway, forgot about that. It's good that somebody reminded me. For crankbaits, max advertised depth, what pound test should be used? 12, usually, unless they tell you otherwise. Who catches bigger fish, you or Mr. Hoover? Just depends on where we are. He likes all those private lakes that have those big fish in it. So, what is your thoughts on a pink spinnerbait or chatterbait for muddy water? Never used it in muddy water. I've always used pink baits in super, super clear water and done very, very well. But muddy water, I've never tried it. Hadn't even crossed my mind. What's the best condition to run a buzzbait when bass fishing? I have not had much luck on buzzbaits. Best time of the year is in the fall, but you can catch them all the time with it. Usually real calm water, not too much chop, and throw it all the way to the bank and reel it to the boat. All the way to the bank, just kind of work the bank and work around cover and stuff like that. That's when you're going to get bit by a buzzbait. Don't reel it too fast. Very, very slowly. Make sure the brakes or the blades are breaking the surface, but just barely. And so you do that enough and you're going to get hammered. Take the skirt off. Put a single tail grub on there, or a paddle tail, or a horny toad will work too. A white horny toad. Any of those 3 instead of the skirt, you'll get more bites. So, Fishing Doc Wheeler, with this heat, do you think they have gone deep yet? They may have gone deep. If the water temperature gets up into the low 80s, I'm almost guaranteeing that a lot of the fish are going to be deep. But there's always fish shallow. There's not as many in the summertime as there are in the rest of the year. So, what trolling motor do you use? Any recommendations on getting a new one with or without spot lock? I use a Ultrex It is the best trolling motor I've ever had on my boat. I will not have another trolling motor on my boat until somebody comes out with one better. And it is the first thing in the fishing industry and on the market that I've ever called a game changer, because it has absolutely changed the way I fish. And I love it. I've been wanting one for years. I've been praying for something. I almost bought two trolling motors, one that was a digital for offshore fishing, and one that was a cable drive for when I'm working the bank and stuff like that. And they finally made one, put both of the best of both those worlds into one trolling motor. So very, very happy with it. How would you fish the algae bloom? I just fish it like it's muddy water, is really what I do. The bass move shallow. They actually will move up underneath the algae, and I just fish it like muddy water. I throw tight to cover and things like that. It just, only thing it creates is just a reduced visibility for them. And so I've caught a lot of fish during algae blooms, especially major algae blooms. What action of rods do you prefer a long versus short butt end of the rod? Not Chris, I don't understand that question. I like long butts for rods that I'm going to be making long cast or really heavy hook sets, except for my frog rod. I like a short butt because I'm skipping it, and I do so much better with that short 6'5" heavy rod that I designed for 13 for frogs. But it just all depends. What advice would you give to someone wanting to get a kayak? Buy one that you can afford. It doesn't have to be super expensive. I would budget probably $400 or $500 for one. 600 is a decent one. But get what you can afford, but buy a good paddle. Don't buy a cheap, snotty piece of crap paddle, because it will drive you nuts. And then sell that boat when you have the money and get another one. So, what size jackhammer do you recommend? I always start with a 3 or oh goodness. A 3/8 ounce is usually the one I start with. Very seldom do I go over a half ounce. Jonathan Sosa, go dogs. I have 2 medium fast rods. What should be my go-to setups? Lay Lake, Central Alabama, topwater. A spook rod, medium fast is what I use for a spook. Any kind of a walking bait, a popper, stuff like that. And then the other one's going to be something like a fluke or a white jig. Not white jig, a light jig, or what I would use the other one for. So, top lure right now for Alabama. Top lure for anywhere in the country is going to be something topwater. You don't like Canadians, do you? I do pick on Canadians a lot. Oh man, no, it's not that I don't like them. It's just my. Wait a second, who is that? Oh, Paul. I thought it was one of the cameramen that I work with Chad. No, it's just, no, I don't know. I just like picking on them. They're fun. They give it right back too. Ever fish Canada? Yes, I fished northern Quebec for Arctic char back in the early '90s. Was the only time I fished Canada. And I fished. I took a snowmobile ride and went ice fishing up there a couple of years ago up on Lake of the Woods. So make sure it has no holes in it. Okay. Make sure it has. Okay, I just got your comment in the Golden Vision. Gauge Grizzle, strategy for our current conditions, post spawn, rising muddy water. Rising muddy water is going to push the fish to the bank. I always look for those banks where if it's way back in the trees, I want to be able to reach the bank with my cast. And then muddy water, they're going to get tight. Go watch that video I launched last month or the month before last about fishing muddy water, and it'll help you tremendously. It talks about all of that stuff. Gene, I'm here. Jeremy Isabel. Gene, I'm here. You can officially start. Why doesn't the SS-107 have gear tracks in the back? The reason is the difference in cost between the 127 and the 107 is $300. And the difference between the amount of money it costs to build a 12-foot 7-inch kayak and a 10-foot 7-inch kayak, or to the difference in cost of plastic, is like dollars. It's nothing. So in order to be able to give you a boat that is less expensive and is 2 feet shorter, they have to pull some of the hardware off and change some of the hardware to be able to reduce that price. If they made the same, put the same hardware on the 107 as they did the 127, they would be almost the same exact price and they'd never sell one. So a dumb business decision that would be. So the smart businessman says, okay, let's see where we can save money somewhere else. Now the good thing is that Yak Attack offers all that gear track stuff and things like that that you can add to your boat, and you can put whatever you want to and customize it. So it does stink that it's not back there. I've already added one to one of my boats, and I'm going to order a whole bunch more to add to the other ones, and get that right, or the other one, and so I can mount my camera mounts on the back of it. So that's the reason. What are your opinion on the Dobbins Fury rods? They're good rods. I have one spinning rod that I haven't used in a while, but when they first came out, I bought it, and it's a really good rod. And Dobbins makes great rods. Their Furies, they're worth the money for sure. Devin, I would. Oh, okay, sorry. Thanks, Jesus. Appreciate it. Uh, Thoughts on Old Hickory Lake? I haven't fished it in a couple of years. Do you modify your jigs at all? Make sure that the weed guard's trimmed. I trimmed the skirts up just a little bit. It's hard to say if I modify them or not because the jigs I use are made by or were designed by me, and they're made by Mike over at Seaward Outdoors. So it's hard for me to say because they're everything I want in a jig really. So which kayak are you going to use more, the 107 or the 127? This summer, I'm going to find myself using the 127 more because I'm putting my kids in the 107. I loved that 107 the 5 6 days that I fished it. It is an absolute great kayak. It's very maneuverable. The only problem is there's not enough room for me, my fishing gear, and my camera gear, and so I'm going to have to stay on that 127 as much as I can just to have room for my camera gear. That's like the boxes and stuff. Goodness, why am I yawning so much? I'm really not that tired. What area would you fish on Chickamauga right now? I like the northern part of the lake, north of the bridge right now. Um, do I use bait attractant on crankbaits? No, I'll change the color using JJ's Magic if I need to. I like to paint orange bellies. Other than that, nope. Do I still use my Hobie? No, I gave it back to him, Ray. The Hobie contract was for 7 videos. I did 7 videos. I tried to get a sponsorship from them. That kind of fell through. Didn't no bad blood or anything. Just didn't work. And so they asked me. I asked them what they wanted me to do with the Hobie. They said sell it. I told them no. I'm not going to sell it, but I'm going to. I told them to find a pro staffer that could use one, and he can come to my house and pick it up. And so that's what he did. There's no reason for me to sell it. So. Bryce, thanks for the $2, man. I really appreciate it. It really helps. Are you going to offer sponsorships for your channel? I haven't really thought about it. Not for my channel. It may be for my website once things get up and running properly, and maybe even for the Fishing Shirt of the Month Club, I may offer some sponsorships there, or just have some promotional staff positions. So, but that's something that's still in the future. So don't even worry about it. Does it feel like the 127? Does it feel like the 127 as far as maneuvering, or is it lighter? You think you're in the 127 because it's the same size cockpit, but the minute you start to paddle it, you realize it turns on a dime and it's lighter. It gets moving faster, and it's just a fun little boat, and it's very very stable. Not as stable as the 127 because they put a little bit more rocker in it, so it'll be maneuverable in current. My boys paddled it this week in 20-mile-an-hour winds. They said it was a little tough, but that was understandable because it sits higher than the mayfly that they were used to, and the Liska. But they did pretty good. They did just fine with it. So, any tips on fishing Guntersville in late July? Fish the grass, dude. Outside edges of the grass and on points. Have you ever fished Mullet Lake in northern Michigan? No, I have not. What kayak would you recommend for open water and river fishing? That's 2 different boats. The 127 is an okay river boat. It's a really good open water boat, really good big lake boat, or any kind of a lake boat. The 107 is really good. It was designed for river fishing. It's a little tough to paddle up into really hard current, but it can be done. So those are the 2 I would recommend. What is your opinion on the Lew's BB1 speed spool? I broke one once. That's my opinion. Do you fish a bull shad on bottom or wake it like the owner does? I fish it just under the surface. Uh, Mike does basically the same thing, and he covers a lot of water quickly. In the video that he made with, I think it was Kevin Baxter, or it might have been Matt. I think it was Matt over at Tactical Bassing. The video he made, he talked about fishing fast, and what he meant when he said that was he meant that he covers a lot of water quickly, but he still reels it fairly slow, but just under the surface. He likes that slow sink, and he likes to reel it. And that message didn't come across right in that video. I'm real good friends with Mike. I have been friends with him since long before when I mean basically my fishing started with Mike Buca in 2001. So. We talk a lot about that kind of stuff. Open opinions on the wind rod handle overwraps. I don't like them. They reduce the feel of the rod and they reduce sensitivity to me. So, Joe Nee, coming to Chick anytime. I need a ledge fishing lesson. I'm gonna try, dude. I'm pretty slammed right now, but I need to get up there because I want to do some ledge fishing myself. I want to fish one of them big old freaking honking spoons. Um, Any opinion on Whopper Plopper's size? I use the medium size one. When I say you got the small one, the one I don't even know how many centimeters it is or millimeters. I use the 190, so that's the one that's looks like a tennis shoe. But the one I recommend is the one in between the 120 or 140, whatever it is. So 110 it may be. Uh, Let's see. Robert Grosso, Fishing Shirt of the Month Club is the best thing ever. I've had it since the first shirt, and everyone loves them. I like it more than the boxes. $10 for a shirt is ridiculous. Thanks, man. I just about shut it down this week, and I finally got somebody from that company, from the printing company, to get back with me and let me know why they haven't sent me a check since January. So everything's working out good. We're going to see what we can do to make it even better. So. We look forward to that. So, opinion on favorite rods, brand, hype. I have only picked up two favorite rods when I was at Cabela's a few months ago, and they felt very heavy. One of them was a jig rod, so understand that. The other one was just a medium fast action rod, and it just felt heavy. It wasn't balanced well, or just, and I hate to say it because I didn't have a reel on it. So I really don't check a balance until I put a reel on, but it just felt heavy in my hands. So I don't know if it's hype or whatever, but I didn't like them. Let's see, what is the best reasonable spinning rod to buy? It depends on what you think reasonable is. The fake chromes are $80. Those are really good. And that's usually the one I recommend because they're really good rods for the price. One last cast. What would you guys think of a subscriber fishing tournament done through an app? I may have to try that. There's several apps out there. I've got relationships with a couple of them. Just haven't really had the time to think about it, but that's something I need to put on top of my priority list and see if you guys really feel like doing it. So, Tone Lock, do you still fish Ducket? No, I don't. Ducket rods are not the same as they were when they first came out. Ended up selling all the originals. Heck, I bought them all anyway, but ended up selling all the originals and then worked on a sponsorship deal with 13. So let me change. My back's starting to hurt. I got the old Army back, brother. Let's see. Patrick Keller, thanks for the $5. How big of a kayak should I get as far as length, width, and weight capacity? I'm 6 foot 220. Live near Clarks Hill and Savannah River. Go to that new kayak shop in Clarks Hill. Figure out when their demo days are, because I know they have some coming up, and I'm probably going to be at one if they remember to contact me and let me know when they are. But ask to demo the Bonafide SS127. I know it's a $1,600 kayak, but that'll give you an idea of what the most stable kayak is. And then kind of what you're looking for when you look for one that's a little inexpensive. You want one, if you're getting one that's anything other than the bona fide, you want one that's at least 36 inches wide or at least 35 inches wide and 12 feet long to handle somebody your size. You're about 20 pounds less than me, so I kind of understand where you're sitting. So, uh, the Reef Army. I knew there was something I didn't like about you, Semper Fi. Dude, let me tell you something. I volunteered to go on deployments with the Marines. I was an X-ray tech and a medic, and one of the top ones around. So every time the Marines had a training deployment, I was like, I want to go. Please let me go, because I love to work with the corpsmen and I love to hang out with Marines. So you take that back, you knucklehead. Opinion on the Lowrance Elite TI graphs. I haven't tried one yet. I need to dig into those and see what I think about them. Sorry, man. Best lure to use in Guntersville around middle to late June and early July. My favorite one is topwater in the morning, and then I would be cranking the grass edges is usually what you cranking or throwing a bull shad along those outside grass edges along the, a lot of people fish the ledges. I like to fish outside edges of grass. So let's see, Gage Tressler, what is the best fish I've caught? I'm assuming you're saying biggest. Last year in the summer I took a Jackson mayfly kayak out, and I caught a 250 plus pound Goliath grouper. And I'm the first one to ever catch one in a kayak over 200 pounds without getting my butt pulled out. So I can honestly say I'm the first at something. What happened to the number 8 tackle company? Good question, Bryce. The long story shortened is basically number 8 tackle got dissolved. It was a sister company of 13 Fishing, so they owned it. They dissolved the company to make it easier for the big box stores to understand that they were the big, that 13 had those lower priced rods and reels for big box stores. And they created the 1-3 brand, and the 1-3 brand is basically just 13 Fishing. So they dissolved it. The blackout rods are now the fake chromes. And so everything's still pretty much the same, just a different look. And yeah, that's what happened. So it's still, the rods and the reels are still around, or the rods are still around, but the number 8 tackle is gone. Been gone for over a year and a half now. So let's see. Can I do a video on the best waterproof? I'm guessing you mean waterproof box for jigs. Boy, that's tough, man, because jigs, you put a wet one in there and it can rust everything. And I hate to use a waterproof box for my jigs. The Bass Mafia boxes are really good, but I hate to use a waterproof box. I like one with a little ventilation in it. So, what's my preferred bluegill imitation? A swim jig is what my preferred one is. And I usually will fish it either the green pumpkin or even a bluegill color. I use mostly swim jigs. I use are from Greenfish Tackle out of Augusta. There's some old buddies of mine. I know they make great products. So why change something that's good? Any recommendation? Any recommended kayak fish finders under $250? I don't know, man. I haven't done any $250 fish finder shopping, but I'd say go look at Lowrance. They have good inexpensive ones, and I haven't looked at the hummingbirds. I haven't even seen anything from hummingbird that's that inexpensive. So I'd say look at the Lowrance ones for those prices. Opinions on strike zone lures. Never used them. Will I catch bass out of my pontoon, or am I at a disadvantage? Army guy here too. Jay Wells. The only disadvantage you'd be at is if the bass were super, super shallow. I mean, you can catch them out of your pontoon boat when they're out deep and offshore. They tend to be a louder boat, but I don't see why not, man. I freaking used to slay crappie in my buddy's pontoon boat. Let's see. Gage, thanks, man. Appreciate the subscription. Let's see. I just got the Garmin Striker 4 CV for $180. There you go. Garmin has them too. Good. For under 200. Let's let's see. 4 good rods for fishing as a co-angler. You know, Ryan was one of the best co-anglers that I ever knew. He was the youngest person ever to win co-angler of the year for the BFL. And he carried 3 rods. He carried a spinning rod for finesse fishing, a medium light. He carried another spinning rod for finesse fishing, a medium for a little bit heavier cover and stuff like that. He fished a lot of Cincos and a lot of shaky heads, a lot of just finesse stuff. And then he carried a medium heavy rod for Texas rigs, jigs, big spinner baits, and stuff like that. 3 rods. The dude used to carry his tackle in a trash bag and show up to the tournaments like that just to get into the boater's head. And he would wear V-neck sweaters and button-ups and ear earbuds in his ears, and he'd just be jamming, sitting on the back with his legs crossed and just whacking fish. So he was an awesome dude, man. I miss him. I'm getting a boat. What do I need to do? Take somebody out that knows how to use a boat if you've never had one, and learn from them. I've got a whole bunch. I've got a couple of decent boat videos. I need to do a bunch more, but it's just added to that big old long list of mine that I need to get to. Ross Inzana just started kayak fishing last year and decided to start fishing it this year. Going from Pennsylvania trout waters to bass has been a huge learning curve. I understand, dude. Love your channel. Really helped a lot. Thanks. Yeah, I was a trout fisherman growing up. Matter of fact, I'm going to take my kids trout fishing this next week up in the mountains where I grew up fishing. But I get it, dude. You got to set the hook a lot harder, don't you? Have you ever been to Lake Jordan in Alabama? Yes, I have. If so, what do you recommend? I haven't been there this time of the year. I was there in the fall, late summer, fall, and I was throwing shaky heads for those spotted bass on Lake Jordan. So I want your frog rod. Bring one tomorrow night, Gene. I got the money to give you. I only have one that's working, Ray. The other one was a prototype, so it was kind of thrown together, and the reel seat spins on it. You don't want that one. I've got to drill a little hole and throw some super glue into it and make it work. So I don't have one for you, and I don't think they have any in stock anywhere in the country right now. They have sold out of them, but definitely wish I had one. I know you're coming tomorrow night. I saw that on Facebook, and I'm pretty happy. I can't wait to see you again. Larry Young, good question. Have you ever thought about fishing in the FOW tournament or Bassmasters? No, I have not. I had a discussion with Gerald Swindle about this. I think it was Gerald. No, it was Terry Scroggins, the Big Show, the other day. And I totally respect what they do. I love the fact that those guys are able to fish tournaments every single day and fish every day and get ready for tournaments and stuff like that. That's not for me. It never has been for me. I love to fish pot tournaments, local ones that aren't that much stress, but dude, they take a lot of time, and takes a lot of time away from their family and stuff like that. I totally respect them for doing that. It's just I'd rather make videos, and if I ever did fish tournaments, the videos would stop because I would have to give it 110% to be successful. So Scott Hudson, good question. What happened to Jackson Kayak? Jackson Kayak could not fulfill their end of our agreement. As much as I would beg and plead and try to get them to do something that we agreed upon, it just was like pulling teeth. And finally, I got just so frustrated with it that I just had to change. And so they were my biggest sponsor at the time, which was a huge financial hit for me. It's been really tough since then, but I'm able to sleep at night. So that's kind of how I don't do this for the money. The reason I do this is because I want to teach people how to fish. My sponsors pay my wife to let me do this, is basically what it is. I have to be able to feed my family, put a roof over their head, and keep my wife happy. And if I can do that, I'm fine. And if my wife and kids weren't here, life would suck, but I could do this for free and not even worry about it. But, Jackson had to go. Apart from fishing, what other outdoor hobbies do you have? Duck hunt, pheasant hunt, so on and so forth. I used to deer hunt a lot. Fishing has taken over that. I sing a lot. I garden. I spent all day today working in my garden. It's a 50 by 100 foot garden. I put a electric fence around it last week. I've been weeding it, putting up trellises for the beans and everything else. I love to garden. I mowed for 8 hours yesterday because my kids didn't do it while I was out of town. and it got out of hand. So Fishing Western North Carolina said, "Give me your jacks," and I don't have them anymore. I had to give them back. Advice for someone wanting to start a fishing YouTube channel: start. Don't just want to start. The sooner you start, the better. So, what is the best fluorocarbon line? I love the Cigar Brazex. That's what I use 100% of the time. Tatsu, I have one spool of. I use Tatsu when I'm using 4 and 6 pound test line, which is not very often using 4. But Tatsu from Cigar is really amazing line. But those are the only two that I use. So a Brazex is pretty good too. How often should I change my plastic worms? Whenever they don't stay on the hook anymore. Do you ever plan to fish on the West Coast? I hope to get there this fall and fish with tactical bassing if I can remember to call him. I keep forgetting to call him. And Matt, if you're watching, I'm sorry, dude. I keep forgetting to call you. I keep talking about going fishing with you, and I haven't. So, yeah. Jared Pierce says, I think you, Matt Allen, and Tim Little could make a killer video for us students of the fish. Man, I think we could. I'm seriously going to plan a good trip out there to where him and I can get together and just hatch out a good video and make one that is just going to be killer that we both can use. Um, any more? What do you think about Fluger reels? Man, I haven't heard anything about Fluger in years. Their marketing plan must not be up to par because usually I'll know if they start marketing on social media. Any more bank fishing videos on the way? Yes, yes, and yes. My kids are really wanting to do some more bank fishing videos. So, Chris Norse, will you sing for us? Not right now. What is your favorite Missouri lake? I don't have one. I don't think I've fished Missouri, except for I did fish Table Rock, but that was a different circumstance. Jackhammer versus original Chatterbait. Jackhammer all the way. The components are better. It fishes better. It comes over wood better. Definitely a Jackhammer over original. I still fish a lot of the Project Z ones though. We're gonna do this for about 5 more minutes, guys. My voice is about gone, and I'd like to go up and spend some time with my family. My kids recorded the Braves game for me, so I want to go watch the rest of the Braves game. Um, oh, that's a good idea, Mitchell Lewis. Coleman, is that your whole name? It says me and Tactical Bassing should do a frog fishing videos. That'd be sick. Um, let's see. Flukemastr, which came first, the chicken or the eggs? I have no clue. I like to eat both. Best bait caster for $100 is going to be. I really like that the Origin C, the white one. Only thing I don't like about it is that it gets dirty. But somebody showed me the trick of using the old Mr. Magic eraser, cleans it right up. So uh, I get those things dirty, nasty because of the stuff I fish in. Have one bait caster. What is the best all around line to use? If you have one bait caster, I would start with 15-pound line is what I would start with. That's what I use the most on most of my bait casters. It's the I go through more of that in a year than anything is 15-pound, maybe 12 if you don't fish a lot of jigs and heavy hook baits and stuff like that. So let's see. Where can I spot the truck at in the next few weeks? Mostly around home. Planning a trip at the North Georgia mountains, and I'll be in Nashville tomorrow night. And so that's right. I'm running a contest on finding Flukemastr on Instagram, and basically what you do is you see me at an event, you take a picture of me, or you see my truck on the road, take a picture of my road, tag me or my truck on the road, tag me, and then tag me, and then use the hashtag Finding Flukemastr. And I pick a winner, and in July, at the end of July, and I take somebody fishing. So it's pretty cool. Chris McFarland, that's a good question. I have a really thick grass that I've been trying to punch with a large pegged weight Texas rig with a creature bait, but I can't seem to get it to fall through. Any suggestions for punching through? Change your creature bait to a Rage cutter worm or a Cinco, but I like a cutter worm because it has that little tail at the end, and punch that, and then go start with 1.25 ounce weight tungsten and go up from there. There is a certain type of grass that I had at Kingfisher Society in North Carolina, and it almost looked like bank grass, that it got so matted you couldn't punch a 2 ounce weight through it. And so there's always a type of grass that you can't do it, but my bet would be that you can if you change your creature bait. It sounds like your creature bait's getting caught up. So 5 Mile boys, how am I supposed to find you in Idaho? Dude, this will not be the only contest like that I run. I'm going to do a bunch of those. They're so much fun, and they're so easy to do. And not a whole lot of people enter them, because not a whole lot of people, see my Instagram deal and see me. A bunch of people recognize me all the time, but not everybody knows about the contest, at least not right now. Just purchased a big rig from your older video. How is the stability difference between that and the SS127 coming from a bigger guy? The big rig is super stable. And I'm going to tell you that the SS127 is more stable than the big rig. And the reason I know that is not only can you feel it, but I had a dude at a demo day take a SS127 out and flip it, and then take a big rig out and flip it to see which ones would flip the easiest. And he said with the SS127, he had to grab the handle across the other side and lean his entire body over the side to get it to flip. And the big rig, all he had to do was just get his shoulders outside the gunnel. Didn't have to grab a handle or anything. Still a stable kayak, still a great kayak, but not as stable as SS127. So, why use expensive tungsten? Scott Holmes, this will be my last question, guys. Appreciate everybody being there. Why do I use why should you use expensive tungsten? It is, one, more sensitive because it's more dense, and two, it'll fit into tight questions. Hey, Alex, thanks for the $5. Man, you're gonna make me answer one more question, you knucklehead. But the best thing that I have ever done when it comes to expensive tungsten is I set aside $20 a month for over 2 years. And whether I needed it or not, I bought $20 worth of tungsten a month. And I made sure that I stored it, in a box out of the way so my kids couldn't get a hold of it, stuff like that. So I had it when I needed it. And it really did make it easier to use tungsten. It is expensive, but you'll catch more fish with it. You'll be able to feel the bottom better and everything else. So there's my reason. All right, Alex. Quick question. What company would you like to work with that you haven't yet? Oh, man. I don't know. I've got a bunch of good companies. I've got some proposals and stuff out there that I'm waiting on. And some might work and some of them may not fall through, but may fall through. Some of them might work okay. But which company that I don't yet that I would like to? Nines fishing glasses, the Nines sunglasses. Absolutely love the ones I have. I have 3 sets or 3 pairs of Nines glasses, and I would love to work with them. Great guys. I've met them a couple of times, just never talked business with them. And they make really, really good sunglasses for inexpensive. And you can buy them on my website. Matter of fact, that's how much I like them. And I'm not sponsored by them. So anything that you want to look for, like t-shirts, we have some really cool Flukemastr shirts. They're on flukemastr.com. You can buy 13 rods. You can buy any of my sponsor stuff on flukemastr.com. Go check it out, dudes. If you want to give back to Flukemastr, that's the best way to do it, and you get something cool in return. But thanks, guys, for tuning in. You guys are awesome. You're the reason why I do this. I'm going to keep doing it every day until they dig a hole and put me in the ground. So, like I always say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing. Introduce them to my channel. Let me help you teach them how to fish. More importantly, get out on the water and go out and catch some fish and have a great day. We'll see ya. Thanks, Jesus.